y'all, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Stephanie and I appreciate y'all stopping by. Today I'll be showing y'all how I made these 6 adorable bunny themed DIYs that are super quick and easy to make and are perfect for spring. I hope y'all enjoy the video, and if you do, please give it a thumbs up and be sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Let's go ahead and jump into DIY number 1. For this first project, I used 4 wood rounds from this pack I picked up on sale at Hobby Lobby. I picked out a large, medium, and 2 small wood rounds to make the body of the bunny. I started by applying a generous amount of hot glue at the top of the large wood round and placed the middle-sized wood round on top to create the head. Next, I used hot glue to attach the 2 small wood rounds to the bottom of the large wood round to create the bunny's feet. To create the bunny ears, I used 2 of these oval-shaped wood pieces that I also got on sale at Hobby Lobby. I picked out 2 of the pieces that were similar to the same size and also fit on the bunny head. I applied a generous amount of hot glue on the bottom front side of one of the wood pieces and attached it to the back of the bunny's head. I then repeated this step to attach the bunny's right ear. Here is how the bunny looked once I had all the wood pieces glued together. To make the whiskers for the bunny, I used 3 pieces of some soft tie wire. I placed the longest piece on the head of the bunny where I wanted the whiskers to set and used a pair of wire cutters to cut the wire to size. Next, I placed another piece of the wire diagonally across the first piece and then the last piece of wire across the second piece to form the shape of an X to determine how much of the excess wire I needed to cut off. Once I had all the wire pieces cut to size, I placed them in my hand in the same way they'll be on the bunny and used wire cutters to trim the ends so that they were not as uniformed and looked a little more natural. I used Waverly chalk paint in the color ink and gave the wire pieces 2 good coats. After the paint was dry, I used hot glue to attach the wire pieces to the bunny. I started by adding a dot of hot glue and placing the longest horizontal wire first. Then I added another dot of hot glue on top of that wire and placed the next wire diagonally across the first. And finally, I added another dot of hot glue on top of the second wire and added the final piece diagonally the other way to form the shape of an X. Then, to finish this quick little project, I went back with a small paintbrush and ink chalk paint and painted the glue around the wires so that it would blend in a bit better. I used hot glue to attach all these pieces for video purposes and it's held up well, but if you want a stronger and longer hold with the wire, I would recommend using a stronger adhesive. I absolutely love how this bunny turned out, so much so that I felt like I needed to make a smaller one to make a pair. Moving right along to DIY number 2. For this project, I used 3 of these wooden ovals from Dollar Tree. I used Waverly chalk paint in the color plaster and gave all 3 ovals 2 good coats. Next, I used a sheet of these Easter window clings from Walmart. I started by cutting all 3 of the bunnies out of the sheet. Since the background on these clings is a light purple, I took some detail scissors and fussy cut around all 3 bunnies to remove as much of the background as possible. Once I had the bunny cut out, I removed the backing and applied an even layer of Mod Podge on the back side of the cling and placed it in the center of one of the wooden ovals and smoothed out all the bumps and wrinkles. After I had the bunny in place, I applied a thin layer of Mod Podge over the top of the entire piece to seal it. I then repeated this step to add the other 2 bunny clings to the other 2 wood ovals. I did have to cut off some of the gray bunny so that it would fit on the oval, but I just cut the pieces so that they would be flush with the sides of the wood. Next, I used 3 of these small wooden easels from Dollar General. I stained them with Minwax wood finish in the color dark walnut. Then, to finish up this project, I placed each of the bunny plaques on the easels, and this one is done. I am really happy with the way these little bunny plaques turned out. They're really cute and they took almost no time to make. On to DIY number 3. For this project, I used 2 of these hippity hoppity signs from Dollar Tree. I started by removing the bow from one of the bunnies and removed the bunny itself from the sign by pulling the ribbon off the back and removing the staples. I used a heat tool to help loosen up the glue on the metal earpiece and removed it. I then repeated this step to remove the other bunny and then completely removed the paper from both bunnies and sanded them smooth. I used Krylon chalky finish paint in the color Classic White and gave both bunnies about 3 good coats. Next, I used 2 of these long wooden dowels from Dollar Tree. I decided how much taller I wanted one of the bunnies to be and then cut the other dowel rod to size using miter shears. I also used 2 of these large wood beads and 2 of these smaller wood beads, all from Amazon. I used a battery-operated pencil sharpener from Dollar Tree to sharpen the ends of the dowels so that the wooden beads would fit on the ends. I continued to sharpen one end of the dowel until the small wood bead would easily fit on the end. I then sharpened the other end of the same dowel until the large wood bead would fit on the other end. Then I repeated this step to sharpen the other dowel rod. Next, I placed some wood glue on the tip of one end of the dowel and placed the large wood bead on the end and used a baby wipe to remove any of the excess glue. I then placed some wood glue on the other end of the dowel and placed the small wood bead on the end, removing the excess glue. Then I repeated this step to assemble the other dowel rod. For the bases, I used this 2-pack of wooden circle plaques from Hobby Lobby. I stained the dowel rods and the wooden circles with Minwax wood finish in the color dark walnut. After the pieces were all dry, I used Gorilla Super Glue to attach the end of one of the dowel rods with the large wood beads to the center of one of the circles and set it aside to dry. I then repeated this step to attach the other dowel rod to the other circle using paint bottles to help hold the dowels upright while the glue set up. Here is how the stands turned out once they were assembled. Then, to finish up this project, I applied some hot glue to the top of the small bead on the dowel rod and placed the bunny on top, holding it in place until the glue set up. I repeated this step to attach the other bunny to the other stand and painted any of the visible hot glue with ink-colored chalk paint. This is my second favorite project from today's video. I think they turned out fantastic and were super easy to make. I want to take a quick second to talk about today's video. It's part of the Bunny collaboration with 4 other incredibly talented creators: Amanda from 6 Kids and a Glue Gun, Brenda from Rustic and Lace DIY, Chantel from Crafty Hints, and Krista from Krista's Crafty Life. Y'all, these ladies are all incredibly talented creators, and they have some of the cutest DIYs. So if you haven't checked them out, I highly encourage you to do so. I just know you're going to love their channels. I'll link their channels in the description box below, as well as leave a link to the playlist so you can get even more bunny-inspired decor inspiration once you're finished with my video. I know I can't wait to see what they each created. Now that I've said all that, let's jump into DIY number 4. For this quick and easy little project, I used 3 of these plaster bunnies from Dollar Tree. I started by using a pair of wire cutters to cut off the loop on the top of the bunny. After I had the majority of the loop removed, I took a sanding block and sanded off the rest of it so that the bunny's head was smooth. I then repeated this step to remove the loops from the other 2 bunnies. I also used this 3-pack of 2.5-inch clay pots, also from Dollar Tree. I used hot glue to attach one of the clay pots to the top of one of the bunny's head by placing the hot glue on the top of its head and then the tip of its ear. I then repeated this step to attach the other 2 pots to the other 2 bunnies. Again, I used hot glue for video purposes, but I highly recommend using a stronger adhesive like E6000 if you recreate this project. I used Krylon chalky finish paint in the color Classic White to paint the bunnies in clay pots, and this one is finished. I think these little pots turned out absolutely adorable, and you could use these for all kinds of things like place settings for Easter dinner. I decided to use mine for decor on my hutch, so I added some boxwood, mini carrots, and some mini speckled eggs. Moving on to DIY number 5. For this project, I used this large egg sign from Dollar Tree. I started by removing the twine hanger and the paper from the front of the egg. I used a stainable wood filler to fill in the hole on the top of the egg and set it aside to dry. Once the wood filler was dry, I sanded down the entire egg so that it was nice and smooth. I then used Waverly chalk paint in the color celery and painted the egg with 2 coats. I gave the egg one light coat and then a thick, uneven second coat to give it some texture that you can see here. Next, I used 2 of these bunny plush wreath decor kits that I got on sale at Hobby Lobby. I only used the ears from one set and then the paws from both sets. I removed the tags on the paws and used a pair of wire cutters to separate the paws and to remove the wire since I wouldn't be needing it. I also removed the wire from the ears. Once I had all the pieces separated, I used a dab of hot glue to attach the 2 ears together so that they were slightly overlapped at the bottom. Next, I started attaching all the pieces to the egg. I applied a generous amount of hot glue to the base of the ears and placed the egg down on top so that the ears were off to the left side. I then used a generous amount of hot glue on the back side of one of the paws and placed it on the left side of the egg, wrapped around the side so it looked like the bunny was holding the egg. Once the glue had set up, I flipped the egg over and applied a generous amount of hot glue under the front paw and held it until the glue set up. I then repeated this step to attach the right paw on the right side of the egg, slightly higher than the left paw. To attach the bunny feet, I set them on the table spaced out how I wanted them and applied hot glue to the top of the feet and set the egg in place, holding it until the glue set up. I then flipped the piece over and used a generous amount of hot glue to fold the back of the paws over the back of the egg and held them in place until the glue set up. Here is how the bunny turned out once I had all the pieces glued into place. Next, I used some of these laser cut wood letters from Hobby Lobby to spell out the words Hello Spring. I decided to leave the letters raw wood and place the word hello on the egg. When I was happy with the placement, I used a ruler to help keep the letters straight and used hot glue to attach them to the egg. I then repeated this step to attach the word spring below the word hello. I struggled to get these words straight because the egg isn't straight, so I would suggest putting the words on before attaching the bunny pieces if you want them perfectly straight. To dress up the top of the egg, I used 4 sprigs of boxwood that I had in my stash and hot glued them to the left side of the egg right above the left paw. Next, I took 3 dogwood blooms from a pick I got at Walmart and used hot glue to attach them to the egg in the greenery, going from the largest closest to the paw to the smallest at the top. Then I took 3 cherry blossoms from a pick that I also got at Walmart and arranged them in between the dogwood blooms and in the greenery, using hot glue to secure them in place. Then, to finish up this adorable little sign, I took a piece of scrap wood and used hot glue to attach it to the back of the egg at the bottom vertically between the feet, then applied hot glue to the bottom of that piece of wood and placed it on top of another piece of scrap wood to create a stand. This one is my favorite out of all of today's projects. I just love how it turned out and it's absolutely adorable and I can't wait to add it to my entryway table. And last but not least, DIY number 6. For this last super easy project, I used one of these 4x6 gray faux wood picture frames from Dollar Tree. I started by removing the back and the glass from the frame. Next, I took some burlap ribbon from Dollar Tree and used it to cover the back of the picture frame. I had to do this in 3 sections since the burlap ribbon wasn't wide enough. I wrapped the ribbon around the top of the backing and cut it to size, then used hot glue on the top and bottom of the ribbon to attach it to the back side of the frame. I then repeated this step to add another strip of burlap ribbon to the right side, and then repeated this step to add a strip of burlap ribbon right down the middle to cover up the seam where the other 2 strips of ribbon came together. After I had the back covered, I placed it back inside the frame. This is what the frame looked like once it was finished. Next, I used one of these wooden bunny heads from Dollar Tree. I used Krylon chalky finish paint in the color Classic White to paint the front and sides of the bunny with 3 good coats. Once the paint was dry, I used hot glue to attach the bunny to the center of the frame. Now, it doesn't really fit inside the frame, so I applied the hot glue to the sides where it came into contact with the side of the frame, and then on the back where it would be in contact with the back of the frame. I then used one of the ribbon bows that I removed from one of the bunnies in DIY number 3. I dovetailed both ends of the bow and then used hot glue to attach it to the left ear of the bunny. Next, I used one of these mini carrots that I had in my stash, and I think it was from Hobby Lobby. I pulled the greenery out of the top of the carrot and cut some leaves from a piece of boxwood and used hot glue to attach them inside the top of the carrot to replace the greenery. Then to finish off this quick little project, I used hot glue to attach the carrot to the middle of the bow, and that's it. This one turned out really cute. I think I'll be adding it to my Easter tiered tray that I will be making soon. Here is one final look at all of today's bunny themed spring decor. I absolutely love how all these projects turned out and cannot wait to add them to my spring and Easter decor. Which one of these projects is your favorite? Let me know in the comments below. Mine has to be the Hello Spring shelf sitter. Don't forget to go check out the Bunny Collab playlist as well as the channels of all of today's incredibly talented creators. All of the links will be in the description box below. I want to thank each and every one of you for stopping by, and if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up as it really does help me out here on YouTube. And if you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, what are you waiting for? Click that button and stick around for a while. I have tons of fun projects on the way. I'll see y'all next time.